Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about my own personal weight loss journey, how I lost 60 pounds, and how I have kept it off for over 30 years. Stay tuned. So my journey started really when I was young, really young. I started modeling when I was 13 years old, and I remember gaining some weight over a holiday, like a Thanksgiving or something like that. And I went into the modeling agency to do something. And the director of the agency saw me and she came up to me physically, grabbed a little part of my stomach and a little bit of fat roll and said, "Oh, you gotta watch that." And it was humiliating and kind of devastating. And at 13, right around puberty, it's really normal for the human body to get a little bit chubby before you sprout up and become an adult and start growing. It's very normal. And so for her to point that out at that age and to be modeling at that age too wasn't really healthy for me. And so I got this whole thing about losing weight and dieting, and that, oh, my body wasn't okay the way it was, and that I had, to watch every little pound. Yeah, so it didn't set me up well. And I remember very early on going to Weight Watchers and Diet Center and all these different diet programs to try to figure out how to lose weight, and not being successful for a short time, but then not really understanding how to do it long term. So at some point in my late 20s, I started gaining quite a lot of weight. I was single, I was lonely, I was unhappy, and I was overeating, and I was using food to kind of medicate, self-medicate, and cope with life. And so I gained a lot of weight, and I was in denial about gaining weight. I was in fat denial, and I have a whole chapter in my book about fat denial. I knew I was gaining. I mean, you kind of know it. Your clothes aren't fitting, but I was wearing stretchy clothes and big baggy sweaters, so I really wasn't paying close attention. I certainly wasn't getting on a scale because I didn't want to know. I asked people, like if I went to the doctor and they weighed me, I'd ask them not to tell me what I weighed, and I would turn my back to the scale, even though I would hear the click, 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 then you hear the big thing going up. Yeah, so I was in fat denial, and then one day I was walking in this store. I'll never forget, I was walking in the store, I had on this sort of green baggy sweater, and black tights and black boots, which I thought I was looking sexy with the tights and the boots. But anyway, big baggy sweater. I'm walking down this aisle of this clothing store, and they had dressing rooms on either side of me with the doors open. It was empty in there right then. So I'm walking down this sort of aisle with dressing rooms with mirrors on either side, and I sort of glanced to my right quickly and back, and my thought was, oh well, she's a big lady, kind of walking parallel with me. And then I looked back again, and it was me. It was my green sweater, because I mean, at first it was like, okay, no, that can't be me. And I'm like, well, wow, she's wearing the same sweater. That can't be that much of a coincidence. And I really looked. For whatever reason, in that moment, for the first time, I could seriously see how much weight I had gained. And I don't know why it took that moment. Why? I think it was because they were angled mirrors. I wasn't seeing myself in a way that I was used to seeing myself. And so it was shocking. It was just really, really shocking. So it was like, oh, okay, wow, so I'm fat. It was a moment of truth. And in the book, I talk a lot about how this is our first step, where you realize you're fat. You're not going to do anything about your eating disorder, your weight problem. It's not a problem, right? So I made it not a problem until that moment when I was willing to take a look at it, and I saw it in such a way that I was able to see it, and I said, okay, something has to be done. I need to do something, because I don't want to walk around this big. So that was good. So that now I had to make a decision how to do it, what to do, all of that. And that's the second chapter in the book, is the whole thing about making that decision. Some people make it really, really quickly. They realize they're fat and then poof, they're engaged in some weight loss activity right away. And then most people, and I was one of the most people, go through a process of kind of going, all right, so I'm fat, so now what am I going to do? And how am I going to lose it? And, all of that. So I did go through that period. And I found UCLA's risk factor obesity program somehow. I don't remember. It's been a long time, but somehow found it. It was a medically supervised fast is what it was. And it had a whole other part of the program. It had classes, behavior modification, and nutritionists and doctors, and it was medically supervised. So I thought, you know what, I felt desperate enough that I just wanted to get the weight off and said, all right, I'm going to do that. So I did, and I was on like a liquid fast for, I want to say 5 months, where it was only liquid. And and I lost about 60 pounds quickly. During that time, I did go to the classes, and I did learn about calories in and calories out and how to keep track of everything, and got pretty grounded in how to do this long term, so that when I stopped the liquid part, I felt kind of ready. But even despite all of that, as soon as I went back on food, whoa, my weight just went not all the way back up, but from 60 pounds, I gained at least 20 back, 25 back. And that was disheartening. Okay, but I stayed in the program and I kept getting help and support, and I learned how to bring it back down with food and how to keep it down with exercise and keeping records and weighing every day, and all of the things that I teach you in all my other videos of how to do it. And in the book Foodaholic too, I teach you how to do it. It's not easy either, by the way, but it does require you to go through all the steps where you first have to realize there's a problem, which is painful. You have to make the decision that you're going to do something about it, which is really important. You have to find your way toward what's the best plan, action plan for you, and then you begin to take action to lose weight, and then the frustrations come along the way. And hopefully, if you're listening to me this long into this video, you might want to check out some of the other videos about how to do it and what might come up for you as far as dragons that you need to slay along your path of losing weight and then keeping it off. And the last step in the book, Foodaholic, is accepting that this is a lifelong journey. And so even though I've kept this weight off for over 30 years, I still have to work. I have to work to keep my weight here, or I would gain it back, because it's still my default. I'm still the fat girl, even though I'm not fat anymore. That's my default. And so I still have to work at it. It's going to be a lifelong thing. And once you accept that, you're like, okay, well, it's still in my control. And if I do the work, I'll get the results. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope there's something in there that helps you. And I'll link some of my other videos below this one if you want to check out some of my helpful hints as to how I lost it and how you can lose it too and keep it on. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you